Hi guys, it's Wade McMaster here. In today's video I want to share with you my top tools for bloggers and content creators. So if you're someone out there who's trying to grow a blog, or you're just simply trying to create content, or even just create art or anything like that, you're creating in general and you're wanting to get your work out there for people to see, this video I've got some tools for you that should help make that happen. Now it's not an essentials list, it's not one of those lists where you have to have absolutely everything. But it is good to aim for at least most of these things, or have an understanding of what they do, so that way you can sort of get these things one by one and more effectively produce what it is you produce and reach more people more easily. Now, I've broken this video up into three sections basically. We are talking about blogging and content creating. So we're going to be looking at things like, we're going to look at tools for your website, the website itself being a tool. So for your website, because there's no better way to own what it is you create than being able to post it on your website. Social media, because it's a great way to reach more people, spread your work around, and get more eyes on what it is you do. And also the content creation itself. So being able to create content or create artwork, whatever it is you're trying to do to get out there in the digital world basically, and show people what it is that you are creating, whether it's information, whatever, art. So we're going to start off by looking at tools for your website. Now the first obviously is what I consider most people should build their websites on, which is WordPress. Now I know this is a bit of an obvious one because most people who start blogs, they do start on WordPress, but obviously there are other platforms out there and it's up to you really. But WordPress is, in my opinion, it's the best platform out there for starting a website. It's very user friendly. The options of what you can do with it are almost endless, and there are plenty of developers out there who can develop custom unique tools for your WordPress site if you need to. So WordPress is definitely one I recommend if you're looking to get into blogging, easy to use and very easy to find information on. Next is quality hosting. If you're going to have a website, you don't want it to be hosted for free on a free server or something like that. You do want to get an actual quality web host to put your website on, so that way when you create your website and get it up there, it's getting served properly, it's reaching people, and it's not underperforming. Now, obviously, there's that many hosts out there. A lot of people will argue and tell you what's a good host, what's not a good host. I usually recommend HostGator because as a web designer, I've built probably 50 or 60 websites just on HostGator in the last couple of years. Never had a problem with any of them. And the reason I usually recommend it is because it's that middle ground of being really affordable at, it could be, I think it's a few dollars a month. So really quite affordable, but also decent quality. And I recommend in particular the cloud hosting. So if you go onto HostGator, I'll put a link in the description below. Check out HostGator and check out cloud hosting in particular, and you'll find yourself get some really affordable but high quality hosting for your website. And the next is photo editing software. Now, this is going to be a tough one because it depends on your expertise. I do recommend you get a hold of either Photoshop or Lightroom, just because you can do so much in them. I personally prefer Photoshop because you can not just only work with photos, but you can quite easily create a lot of designs and that for your websites, for social media, and it's not overly difficult to learn if you're somewhat used to a computer. Now, if you're not, it might be a bit of a learning curve. You might be better off trying a simpler tool like Canva. Canva is free, by the way. But Adobe Photoshop is definitely what I recommend for most serious content creators who want to make a living on the internet their full-time gig, or if it's just you want to use your computer a lot more, you're a computer-minded person. Photoshop is definitely where you're going to be able to get the best results once you gain those skills. So I'll pop a link below on how you can, where you can get Photoshop from. They do have a subscription service, so it does cost a little bit of money, but it is something that we'll be putting more tutorials on this channel in the future, so you can learn Photoshop for your website, for your social media, and for your content creation. So Adobe Photoshop, definitely one I recommend for your photo editing software. Another is Grammarly. This is a bit of a different one because if you're doing a lot of writing, which if you have a blog, you're going to be doing writing at some point. Installing Grammarly, there's a free plugin version. I use the free version myself. It's basically a plugin you add to your browser, and it will actually check your spelling, but also your grammar, and it does a much better job than the standard spell checkers out there. It's actually a much more advanced system and allows you to get a lot more get a lot more correct with your grammar and your spelling, and it's just a far superior way to go instead of just using your standard spell check. So Grammarly, it's free. There's a link below in the description. I do recommend installing that when you're doing any writing or posting on your website or social media. The next is Google Analytics. So you have your website, you got no idea how many people are going to it. You pop Google Analytics on there. Once again, another free tool. Link is in the description. It's very easy for you to then go and track your visitors. Not only how many visitors you get, but you can also see exactly where they've come from, what pages they've landed on, how much time they're spending on your website. All that information is there so you can make informed decisions on what content's performing the best if you want to try and do more of that, or where people are coming from. Now, I do also have a video showing you how to use Google Analytics, so I will pop a link to that below as well. But Google Analytics, again, it's a free tool. I highly recommend getting that one for your website also. Next one is an SEO plugin for WordPress. Now, if you're looking to reach more people and you've got a website, having an SEO plugin allows you to just add those little tweaks, like you add your meta tags and titles and bits and pieces in there. So that way you can be just that bit more optimized for search engines and just take advantage of the traffic from Google or other search engines for that matter, just so you can be a little bit more discoverable. Now, they don't do a massive job necessarily for search engine optimization, but they do give you the option to kind of really target your keywords by giving you the option to take control of your titles and descriptions. So I do highly recommend an SEO plugin such as All-in-One SEO or Yoast. I believe also Rank Math is one that's getting popular. But I personally use All-in-One SEO, and I've got once again, I've got a video below on how to use that as well. So once again, link will be in the description if you want to see that video. But otherwise, if you're in WordPress, just go to your plugins, add a new plugin and search for All-in-One SEO plugin, and you'll be able to install it. And that's, nice, easy one to use, and definitely one I recommend. The other one is obviously a keyword research tool. So obviously, if you're in the place where you simply want to create what you want to create, this might not apply to you, but if you're someone who is actually actively trying to reach more people through search engine optimization, then finding a keyword research tool so you can see what keywords are popular, what people are searching for, is a very handy resource. And so it basically allows you to make informed decisions on what content you're going to create, and allows you to plan a bit more effectively because you can actually research and see what's popular. Now, a free one you can start off with is called Ubersuggest. Neil Patel has it on his website. I'll pop a link to that below as well. You can hop on there, do some research and find out other keyword ideas. It's a pretty cool tool. Check it out. Definitely useful. Now, we're talking about plugins. You definitely need a security plugin for your website, because it's not that people out there are necessarily trying to hack your website themselves, but there are bots surfing the internet all the time looking for vulnerabilities on sites. So if you've got outdated software, or just there's something, a vulnerability they found on your site, they'll get in there and they will either shut your site down or inject some code or something on there. And generally it can take you a while to even figure out this has happened sometimes, because it's a subtle change. It's like selling some drugs or something with a link on your site somewhere. So I do recommend getting a security plugin. I do recommend iTheme Security. Once again, there's a free version. There is a pro version, but the free version does pretty much all you need it to. iTheme Security, definitely a good plugin for WordPress. Great way to get your WordPress website more secure, especially the more options you activate within that, the more secure things get. And I do have a video on that also. So link in the description on how to set up the iTheme security plugin. Now, also a backup plugin is essential, because once again, it's not just about security, it's just about reliability. Sometimes if your website gets hacked, it's good to be able to turn to a backup and just replace it and then start hardening up that old version. Now, the other thing is sometimes something might crash, a server might crash, you might lose some information. So having a backup is definitely the way to go. So I use Backup Buddy for my websites. Once again, pop another link in the description for you. It is a premium plugin, not a free one, but it allows you to set it up. I link it up to my Dropbox account. And what happens is when you set your schedules, it'll automatically do a complete backup as often as I want it to, and I don't even have to think about it. My Dropbox gets a new backup every week or a couple of weeks, depending on how I set it up. And I don't have to worry about it. And if something goes down on my site, I've got a backup there waiting to go. So definitely recommend a backup plugin. Definitely recommend Backup Buddy if you're using WordPress. Now, another awesome tool is Trello. You might be wondering what Trello is, but Trello is basically like it's kind of like a job management system. It's free to start off with. There's a premium version, but I just use the free version. Once again, I'll pop a link to this in the description below. Now, Trello allows you to create sort of like columns and you can put jobs in there for all these in these columns. So you can basically create a column for if you've got ideas, and every time you think of an idea, you add a card with that idea, and then you can have another column for blog posts to write, and then another column for blog post written proofread, and then another one for add images. You can basically create a workflow and create these jobs, or cards they're called, and you can move them from column to column and track where you're at with each job. It's a really great way not only to track your work, but also it allows you to just sort of gives you a good little idea taking system. Because I've got the app on my phone, on my tablet, and I've obviously access it on my PC when I'm working, and I can actually, whenever I have an idea, I just pull out my phone, bring up the right job board onto the ideas column, and I pop my idea in there, and it's there for later. So it's awesome. If you're on the run, you get an idea, pop out your phone, put that idea into Trello, and it's saved there for the future. Now, I also have a video showing you exactly how that works. So once again, another link in the description for that video, so that way you can see how Trello works and how you can use it to keep your ideas, keep your content organized, and that way you're not forgetting anything or letting anything go too long. The next one is access to quality stock photography. So I'm talking about stock photo sites, free or paid. It's definitely a handy tool, because while the ultimate aim is to have your own photos, your own artwork, your own whatever on your website, because it's all authentic. Nothing beats high quality, authentic photographs and artwork. Sometimes you just can't keep up with that demand if you're pumping out a ton of content. So you need to be able to go to somewhere like a pexels.com or Unsplash, or maybe a premium service like Shutterstock, and just pick an image that suits perfectly. Just grab that image, pop it on your site, and in a lot of cases you don't even need to give credit to the photographers, although it is preferred. And yeah, it's just a great way to go. I do have a list of stock photography sites you can go to. I'll pop a link to that below, also with another video. We've got videos for just about everything here. So check that out if you want to see what good stock photography sites are out there, and you can then sort of really basically learn where you can go to get high quality stock photography. One tip, try not to make it look too clean and too commercial. Try to get something that looks a little bit real, because one thing that happens a lot these days, people see stock photography that looks like stock photography, they get a bit turned off. So just a little tip for choosing stock photography for your website. Now finally, a good graphic designer. Now, this doesn't mean you have to necessarily go and hire a graphic designer or have someone up your sleeve you're going to constantly pay for work. It means you can either do that, find a graphic designer, or learn graphic design yourself. Starting with the basics isn't too hard. There's lots of videos out there on YouTube. Learn how to use Photoshop, as mentioned before, Photoshop, things like Adobe Illustrator. You can start to put these things together pretty easily if you've got good graphic design skills, and the basics might be enough for your site, but then as you scale, or if you're in a business where you scale, you get to the point where you can afford to pay for the design. Getting a high quality professional designer is obviously going to be the next best thing. As a graphic designer, I've been a web designer and graphic designer myself for close to 20 years. It's definitely makes a big difference if you can be professional in your presentation if you're in business. But even if you're just looking to get your artwork out there, being able to create something that's clean and professional, that doesn't stand in the way of the artwork, or whatever it is you're trying to produce, photography, whatever, takes a bit of skill, but yeah, it's definitely something worth considering. So a good graphic designer is definitely the way to go for that. So yeah, if you're looking for a designer, I will pop a link to my website into the description, but there's no obligation to contact me. There are plenty of designers out there. You can try places like Fiverr, although not quite as high quality on a lot of those sites, but you can find a few gems if you look hard enough. So yeah, good graphic designer is definitely the way to go for your website or even your social media. Now, speaking of social media, I have got just a couple of tools here for social media which I will recommend to you. The first one is ifttt.com, which is another free service. Basically allows you to sign up. You can hook up various social media networks and platforms and allow automations to happen, so that way, for instance, if you post a YouTube video, you can automatically have that shared on, say, Twitter and Facebook. If you share an Instagram post, you can have ifttt automatically share that image and information on Pinterest or Twitter as an image. There's all these cool automations across a ton of platforms It'll allow you to I guess, streamline your social media promotion. So that way, if you find that you're doing one post which suits all platforms or many platforms, you can just set everything up so it happens all automatically and goes across the board. So IFTTT is a really powerful tool for your social media. Now, another powerful tool is actually scheduling software. Well, I actually recommend buffer.com for this. Something that allows you to basically stockpile all the posts and all the bits and pieces you want to post on social media for the next week or month or whatever, and just let it happen automatically. Because trying to remember to post something every morning when you're busy can be an absolute nightmare. But if you can schedule in an hour or two once a week, or even 2 or 3 hours once a month, depending on how much is involved, you can sit down, do it all at once, schedule it out throughout your whole month or whatever, and it'll just pop on out as you go. Now, one thing I do like to say about this, which I always recommend, is if you do that, make sure you regularly at least just log into your social media on your phone, reply to some comments, and go from there. It's a lot easier than trying to think of something new every day, because it's easier to respond to people than it is to come up with all new content on a regular basis. But sitting down, doing it all at once, getting your brain into that creative zone is definitely a lot easier, a lot more efficient, and scheduling it definitely makes life a lot easier, that's for sure. So I do recommend buffer.com if you want to find some scheduling software. Now, of course, I've mentioned it a lot throughout the course of this video, but a smartphone. You already have one. There's no point in arguing. But having a smartphone, it allows you to at least keep your finger on the pulse if you choose to. The only downside is, of course, that you can get a little addicted to social media, so learn to put the phone away at certain times definitely is what I recommend. I quite often, if I am spending time with my family, I put the phone in another room and completely ignore it. I apologise to my customers out there. This is outside of business hours. But having a phone and being able to go, okay, I'm going to just check my social media, make sure I'm up to date, and just keeping your finger on the pulse, it's definitely worth getting social media and all your various platforms set up on your phone, so that way you can respond to things, especially if maybe you're on the bus, or maybe you're stuck somewhere for 45 minutes. You can actually be productive with that time if you've got a phone and an internet connection. So smartphone, definitely one you want to have, one you already have. So let's be honest. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at tools for content creation. So this is the part where you're really getting to do what you want to do. You get to take whatever it is you're trying to create, and we're going to just go through a few tools. It's going to make that easier for you. Of course, it depends on what it is you're creating, but it's definitely something for creating content on the internet. These tools are definitely going to help you out a lot. The first is a camera. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be your phone again. If you've got a phone with a decent camera, you can start there. If you want to get more serious, I do recommend upgrading to maybe a DSLR camera. I'm currently using a Canon Rebel T7i to record this video. I use it to take heaps of photos. It was about $1,000 range in Australian dollars, but something like that is perfect for content creation because you can take high quality photos, high quality videos, and it's easy to adapt them, pop them online onto YouTube or Facebook, and it allows you to create content using the video format. Now, you might also want to get some video editing software if you're looking to create something a bit more full on with a few cuts or music, things like that. But the camera is definitely the key component of that side of things. The next is a laptop or tablet, because it's good to be able to do things on your phone, but there are some things you just need a bigger screen or even a full keyboard for if you're out somewhere. So let's say you've gone away for the weekend, you need to get some work done. Pulling out a laptop especially is definitely going to be easy for you to get on there. You can pop a mouse in there and you can be working quite quickly, probably far quicker than you can if you're using a tablet. However, a tablet is still useful also if you're traveling, because you can still get a lot done with a tablet. Probably not quite as fast, but it's just another tool to keep your finger on the pulse, be connected to your online properties that you're working on, whether it's social media or a website, and you can still content create. You can type, you can write, in some instances even edit photos. So they're really handy to have because you're not always going to be in an office or at home where your computer is. Assuming you have a computer, because that's the next one, is an actual desktop workstation. Now, it's not so much, a lot of people may not necessarily need this, but if you're serious about creating content, you want to be able to sit down somewhere where you can get comfortable, everything's out in front of you, you're not trying to squeeze into a tiny space. It's kind of good to be able to spread out and use a full computer to create your content, to write, edit your photos, or mix your music, whatever it is you're doing. It's definitely a more purpose-built solution for your content creation. But what I actually recommend on top of that is to actually have a dual monitor setup. Now, behind me, I've got one monitor here, but I've also got another monitor just off. I'll just turn the camera for a second. Another monitor off to the side there. And it's actually a really handy tool for being able to increase your workflow, because you can work on one side, have things for reference on the other. And it's just really handy because you can easily spread things out. You've got more room to work with, especially if you're editing photos, or if you're looking up content, or if maybe you're adding photos to a blog post. Being able to put stuff on one side on one monitor and work on the other monitor makes life a hell of a lot easier. It saves you having to print out sheets of paper or switch between windows all the time. You can just look back and forth with a glance and see what you need to. So dual monitors on your desktop is definitely a bonus recommendation I highly recommend for your office setup. Another is premium email hosting. This is a really boring one. Now we're getting down to just your basic communications, your basic needs, less about content creation, but if you're going to be sending emails and you're going to be communicating with people, having a Gmail or Hotmail is good, but getting an actual domain with premium email hosting is my recommendation, because for one, it's more professional. People trust you a lot more if you actually have a domain address linked up. But if you're just using your hosting email is becoming more and more unreliable as the years go by, because what's happening is quite often servers are getting flagged, and sometimes if you're on a server that has a bad rep, your email is going to junk. And a lot of servers, Hotmail servers and Microsoft servers, things like that, well, not so much just them, but a lot of servers are starting to get really, they really crack down on basic hosting emails, and they're just not making it all the way through. Like I said, in some cases they're going to junk, in other cases they're just not getting there at all. The other thing is, it's a purpose-built solution for email. That's basically what it's there for, and you'll get better results with your email, be more stable, better deliverability if you actually get premium email hosting, such as the G Suite or Outlook Exchange. I'll pop some links below so you can sign up for those, and if you're keen. Otherwise, hosting email is a good place to start. Premium is a good place to aim for if you're looking to get serious about it. Finally, there's printed media. So you're trying to get your name out there, getting some business cards or some flyers. Definitely at least some cards is good, because if you're trying to get your name out there and be known for what it is you create, having a simple business card for when you're networking face-to-face is something I highly recommend. Because even though you're online, there's never a time when you're not dealing with people. When you're online, even though you're sitting in front of a computer or a phone, you're still dealing with real people. And those skills, at some point or another, you're probably going to be faced with another person in real life who actually wants to know what it is you do. So being able to say, hey, look, all my work is online here, or send me an email, etc. Here's my card, is definitely a powerful tool, and one I highly recommend, because that's what they're built for. It's a method of contact. It's a portable, convenient way to get people to basically have the information you want them to have, which is contact details, website, whatever. So definitely I consider getting some business cards printed. You can go to a place like Vistaprint if you want, or you can hire a graphic designer and get some professional cards done up and go from there. Okay, so that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving it a like. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. The other thing is, if you want a resource, I actually have created a blog post listing all these items. So if you want to actually go to that blog post and see it, as opposed to rewatching the video, try and remember what it is I said, if there was something in there, you can use the link on the screen here. Also, link to in the description below with all the other links down there. But yeah, it actually lists everything I've mentioned in this video, so that way you can refer back to it in the future for reference. But other than that, yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a good day.